When Nathan Cole started digging beneath his cabin floor, the entire valley assumed he had finally lost his mind. "You planning to bury yourself?" one neighbor joked. Nathan smiled without looking up. "Just my firewood." The laughter echoed across the clearing. By sunset, everyone in Cedar Ridge knew about the strange hole beneath Nathan's cabin. Most believed hardship had driven him crazy. Nathan knew something they didn't. Winter had nearly killed him once already. He wasn't willing to give it another chance. 2 years earlier, Nathan had arrived in the Montana Territory with little more than a wagon, an axe, and the determination to build a homestead. The first winter taught him a lesson no book ever mentioned. Snow wasn't the real enemy. What firewood was. After every storm, his woodshed disappeared beneath towering drifts. Even when he managed to dig through the snow, the logs often absorbed moisture from blowing snow and freezing rain. They still burned, but poorly. The cabin stayed cold. Every morning began with frozen fingers and hours spent drying wood before breakfast. Nathan promised himself he would never repeat that mistake. The following spring, he began studying older homesteads throughout the territory. Most stored firewood outside beneath simple lean-to roofs. A few kept small amounts indoors. None protected an entire winter's supply. Then, while helping repair an abandoned trading post, Nathan discovered something unusual. Beneath the building lay an old storage cellar. Cool, dry, perfectly preserved despite decades underground. Crates stored there remained almost untouched. The moment he climbed back outside, the idea struck him. If underground cellars preserved food, why couldn't they preserve firewood? Everyone he asked dismissed the thought. It'll rot. It'll mold. It'll never dry. Nathan wasn't convinced. The cellar beneath the trading post had stayed dry for years because rainwater drained away naturally. Proper drainage mattered more than location. By midsummer, construction began. He removed several floorboards inside his cabin, then started digging. 8 feet deep, 12 feet long, wide enough to hold nearly 2 cords of split firewood. The work exhausted him. Every bucket of dirt had to be carried outside by hand. Rock after rock slowed his progress. Neighbors stopped almost daily, mostly to laugh. Tom Ellison leaned against the doorway one afternoon. "I've seen root cellars." Nathan nodded. "So have I, but never a wood cellar. There's always a first." Tom chuckled. "Seems like a lot of work just to hide firewood." Nathan climbed from the pit. "I'm not hiding it." "What then?" "I'm protecting it." Tom shook his head. "From what?" Nathan looked toward the mountains. Winter. By early autumn, the excavation was complete. Nathan lined the walls with carefully stacked fieldstone. He built a gravel floor beneath the logs to keep them above any moisture. Small ventilation pipes rose through opposite corners of the cabin, creating gentle airflow without exposing the wood to snow. Heavy oak planks covered the opening. A woven rug concealed the trapdoor completely. Inside, the cellar smelled clean, dry, almost identical to the abandoned trading post. Nathan filled it gradually. Every log had seasoned throughout summer, each row stacked carefully with narrow air gaps. By October, nearly his entire winter supply rested safely beneath his feet. The woodshed outside remained almost empty. That became the next source of amusement. Tom visited again. "You forgot to fill your woodshed." Nathan smiled. "I didn't." "You planning to chop wood every week?" "No." Tom frowned. "Then where is it?" Nathan tapped the cabin floor with his boot. Tom blinked. "You're serious." "I usually am." The rancher laughed all the way back to town. Within days, people nicknamed Nathan's cabin the underground woodshed. Children asked whether trees grew beneath his floor. Adults joked that he'd burn his house down from below. Nathan ignored every comment. He preferred results to arguments. As November arrived, temperatures fell sharply. Nathan opened the trapdoor for the first time since filling the cellar. Warm, dry air drifted upward. The firewood looked exactly as it had weeks earlier. No dampness, no frost, no snow. That evening he burned several logs. They ignited immediately. Steady flames filled the stove. Very little smoke. Excellent heat. Nathan wrote careful notes inside a small journal. Wood burns faster when dry enough to ignite immediately. Less wasted heat. Less ash. The experiment worked. Winters settled across Cedar Ridge. Snowstorms came one after another. Most families shoveled paths repeatedly between their cabins and woodsheds. Nathan simply lifted the trapdoor, reached down, closed it again. His firewood never saw snow, never froze. never became buried. People noticed. Tom stopped by during the first major storm. You haven't shoveled toward your woodshed. I don't need one. Tom looked puzzled. Nathan opened the trapdoor. Lantern light revealed neat stacks of perfectly dry oak beneath the cabin. Tom climbed halfway down the ladder. He picked up a log, turned it over. Completely dry. No moisture. Nathan nodded. That's the point. Tom climbed back up. I'll admit. What? It's smarter than it looks. Nathan smiled. Most useful ideas are. December arrived. So did rumors. Government riders carried weather reports from settlements farther north. An Arctic system larger than anything seen in decades crossed the Canadian plains. Entire ranches disappeared beneath drifting snow. Freight routes closed. Mountain passes vanished. One rider paused outside the general store. If you're prepared. He hesitated. Prepare more. The valley grew unusually quiet. Families hurried to finish repairs. Extra food disappeared from store shelves. Barn roofs received additional supports. Nathan quietly added only one thing. Another half-quart of split wood beneath his floor. 3 days later, heavy gray clouds swallowed the mountains. The wind shifted north. Horses became restless. Old-timers watched the sky without speaking. Just before sunset, Tom rode to Nathan's cabin one last time. He looked toward the nearly empty woodshed outside, then toward the hidden trapdoor inside. I hope you're right. Nathan looked at the darkening horizon. So do I. The first snowflakes began falling before Tom reached home. By midnight, the blizzard had arrived. The blizzard arrived before dawn. By sunrise, Cedar Ridge had disappeared beneath a wall of white. Snow buried fences. Roads vanished. The wind howled through the valley with enough force to shake entire cabins. Nathan watched through his frosted window as drifts climbed higher than the porch railing. Then he quietly lifted the trapdoor. Warm, dry air rose from the cellar. He climbed down. Every stack of firewood looked exactly as it had in October. No frost. No dampness. No snow. He picked up an oak log. It felt light and perfectly dry. Minutes later, flames danced brightly inside the stove. The cabin warmed quickly. Outside, the storm only grew stronger. By the second day, snow had swallowed nearly every woodshed in town. Some roofs collapsed. Others vanished beneath towering drifts. Families spent exhausting hours digging tunnels through packed snow just to reach their fuel. Many discovered something worse. Blowing snow had forced its way through cracks in the sheds. Firewood lay soaked beneath layers of ice. The logs would burn eventually, but only after wasting precious heat drying themselves first. Nathan never left his cabin. He simply opened the trapdoor, lifted several logs, closed it again. The warmth never escaped. The wood never froze. On the third morning, frantic knocking echoed against his front door. Nathan forced it open against the drift. Tom Ellison stumbled inside, his beard coated with ice. I hate admitting this. Nathan smiled. I know. My woodshed's gone. Nathan handed him a mug of coffee. And your wood. Buried. Wet. Tom nodded. I've been trying to start a fire for 2 hours. Nathan quietly opened the trapdoor. Lantern light revealed row after row of perfectly dry logs. Tom stared. You weren't joking. I rarely do. Nathan handed him several armloads. Take these. Tom hesitated. I'll pay you. You'll return the favor someday. Tom accepted the wood without another word. That afternoon, another neighbor arrived. Then another. By evening, Nathan's cabin had become the busiest place in the valley. Nobody came to admire the cellar anymore. They came because it worked. Nathan kept careful count. He never gave away more than the cellar could spare. Everyone received enough to stay warm. No family left empty-handed. On the 5th day, the blizzard reached its worst. A violent gust tore the roof completely off the general store's woodshed. Firewood scattered across the valley before disappearing beneath fresh snow. Even the blacksmith's massive timber shed partially collapsed. People stopped talking about surviving the storm. They began talking about surviving the week. That evening, while carrying another load upstairs, Nathan noticed something unusual. One stone near the back wall had shifted slightly. He knelt. The stone seemed loose. Curious, he removed it carefully. Behind it lay a narrow cavity carved into the foundation. Inside rested a small oilcloth bundle. He carried it upstairs. Within the bundle lay several journals. The first belonged to Elias Grant, the man who had built the original cabin nearly 50 years earlier. Nathan settled beside the fire and began reading. Elias described brutal winters during the earliest settlement. He wrote about hauling frozen firewood through chest-high snow. Then came one sentence that made Nathan smile. Food isn't the first thing winter steals. Dry firewood is. Several pages later, Elias described beginning an underground wood cellar. Neighbors mocked him, called it wasted effort, claimed wood belonged outside. Nathan laughed softly. History truly repeated itself. The final journal entry caught his attention. If someone finishes this cellar after I'm gone, they'll understand why I never minded the laughter. Nathan looked around the room. Without realizing it, he had completed another man's unfinished idea. When the storm finally ended after 8 relentless days, the valley looked unrecognizable. Snow-buried cabins almost to their windows. Collapsed woodsheds dotted the landscape. Rescue crews dug pathways between homes. People slowly emerged into brilliant winter sunshine. One by one, neighbors walked toward Nathan's cabin, not to ask for more firewood, to see the cellar. Nathan opened the trapdoor. Families climbed down the ladder. They examined the gravel floor, the stacked stone walls, the ventilation pipes, the raised wooden racks keeping every log above the floor. Tom ran his hand across a dry oak log. This thing never touched snow. Nathan nodded. That was the plan. The town carpenter studied the ventilation shafts. The airflow kept everything dry. The gravel drained away moisture. The blacksmith added, and the cabin itself protected the entrance. By spring, new construction echoed across Cedar Ridge. Several families dug underground firewood vaults beneath their own cabins. Others connected with cellars directly to their kitchens. Builders began discussing drainage, ventilation, and insulated storage instead of simply building larger woodsheds. Nathan gladly helped anyone who asked. Late one afternoon, Tom visited again, this time carrying a carefully carved wooden sign. He leaned it against Nathan's porch. The words burned into the pine made Nathan laugh. The firewood vault that saved Cedar Ridge. Tom folded his arms. You've earned it. Nathan shook his head. No. What do you mean? I just paid attention to a lesson someone else started learning years before I arrived. He handed Tom Elias Grant's journal. Tom read the final page slowly, then smiled. So you weren't the first. No. But maybe we'll make sure we're not the last. Years later, travelers crossing the mountains noticed something unusual about Cedar Ridge. Very few woodsheds stood beside the cabins anymore. Instead, nearly every home had a discreet trapdoor hidden beneath a rug or kitchen table. The valley had changed forever. People often believed Nathan became respected because he invented an underground firewood cellar. The truth was simpler. He respected winter enough to prepare for it before it arrived. Because storms don't reward the strongest. They reward the people who think ahead. And sometimes, the most valuable treasure in the middle of a blizzard isn't gold. It's a perfectly dry piece of firewood waiting beneath your feet.